What's going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadski, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. And they've given us a bunch of news in regards to the upcoming global anniversary. They've officially revealed the Sugo Fest, which we're going to be going through in this video today in regards to part 1, part 2, part 3. Who's available, which is the best looking part. We're going to go through that information. The new PKA was announced. We have grand party stuff, including the rule set, which is the most bizarre rule set we have ever seen them announce in terms of who's buffed, who's debuffed. It's crazy, and we'll talk about it. We have a new campaign. We have the shipyard. We did touch up on this in my previous video talking about the worldwide anniversary news. The 3 new ships that are upgraded, 2 of which are actually really good upgrades, Shark Superb and the Whale Shark ship, so keep an eye out for that. New sets of level limit breaks, and then we got some ticket updates too. But let's jump into the Sugo Fest first, because this is the thing that a lot of people have been asking about. So the Sugo Fest, obviously starting tomorrow as of the recording of this video, part 1, and obviously the day after is part 2, the day after that is part 3, debuting Blackbeard and Burgess. Now, I did make a poll on my Twitter account asking my audience whether or not they were kind of hyped about this Sugo Fest, and I did read a lot of the comments, and the overall consensus appears to be that this is a pretty underwhelming celebration in terms of just the character releases. I feel like they definitely should have probably invested a bit more time into designing Blackbeard and Burgess to be a bit more powerful. And while they are going to be useful in upcoming content, and I think that they have their uses outside of normal content, like I think that they are going to be somewhat usable, you know, I think they're going to be pretty nice characters to have. And remember, Jesus Burgess is actually considered to be a normal legend. Blackbeard being an anniversary legend, very, very hard to get dupes for. But remember that, you know, anniversary legends will return when the official anniversary comes out, May 11th, May 12th. So, you know, you've got to keep an eye on that. So I think a lot of people are going to end up skipping this banner, potentially waiting for like a worldwide anniversary part 2, because we expect there to be more to come for this Sugo Fest period. So we'll have to wait and see. But the big thing is 12.5% chance to get a red. Remember that the big Super Sugo celebrations, they're 15% chance to get a red. So not too far off. Should be getting lots of red posters along the way here. Mentions about the anniversary only legend Blackbeard and the Sugo Fest exclusive Burgess. So does confirm Blackbeard is an Anni exclusive character, Burgess is normal, which means after the Sugo Fest concludes on April 13th, at the end of April when they update the normal red tickets, Burgess will be put into those tickets at the end of April, which is cool. And then, of course, the new rare recruits, which we talked about. New characters will be powered up for Pirate King Adventures, which we'll talk about very briefly coming up. There is going to be a free multi-pull on the actual start of the Sugo Fest tomorrow. We get a free pull, and it does include the new batch. So some lucky people out there are going to be able to get Blackbeard or Burgess off of their free multi, which is crazy, but they are available. That's dope. There are going to be 3 additional pulls from February 26, 27, 28, 29. So it looks like you just have to log in and you'll be able to get like a free multi, which is cool. It's going to include I don't think it actually will include the new characters. I think it's only like generic stuff. It won't include the new characters, but still it's free pulls, I guess, so you can't like ultimately complain that much. But either way, free pulls. There is going to be a new collection, so of course they don't do these too often, but a new collection period here where if you have all of these legends, you actually, you know, just get like a cool artwork, I suppose, with all of the worst generation characters. So that's fine. You know, you got Blackbeard, you got Luffy, Law, Kid. So you've got like a couple of exclusive legends like Luffy, Law, Kid being Super Sugos. You've got Blackbeard, who is a TM legend. You've got Bonnie's a TM legend. You've got the Rumble legends in Rogue, and also Apu. And then you've got the Kizuna legend in Drake. So I don't think too many people are going to have this collection completed, as it does actually have a lot of characters here. But there you go. Moving on though, we have the gem sale. You know, I don't think too many people are going to be spending too much money on the gem sales, considering the you know, the level up packs came out, and that's where I purchased and got all of my gems, because those level up packs gave you so many gems for a pretty good value, honestly. So, you know, there's that. And then the new characters, which you can go ahead and look through. I've already talked about them extensively in a couple of other videos. But here we get to the breakdown of the steps. The steps honestly don't look that amazing. It looks pretty typical looking. You know, you've got pretty bad steps for the, like all of those other ones, you know, 1, 2, 3, 5, like it's so many bad steps. 4, 18, 23, 28, guaranteed legend. 8, 12, 20 limited pool legend. 10th pool, all wanted posters are 50% chance to get a red. So the 10th multi on part 1 looks like a lot of fun. You do have the 15th and the 25th to get a super limit. And then the 30th pool says you get a limited pool anniversary exclusive Sugo Fest exclusive character. So that's cool, I guess, but it doesn't guarantee you one of the new units, which I think they probably should have done. They should always do that on part 1. I don't know why they don't. And then you've got parts 2 and 3. So remember, part 1 has both of the new legends, but they're going to be lowered rate. And then part 2 has Blackbeard at normal rate. And then part 3 has Jesus Burgess at normal rate. And these two parts here for parts 2 and 3 will have these exact steps. You know, nothing really out of the ordinary. It's pretty typical looking stuff. But this is where we get to the breakdown of what is actually occurring here. So for part 1, you've got a pretty good array of Anni exclusives. You've got the new Blackbeard, which I know people want to get. The Luffy from the last anniversary period that we had, the 9.5 anniversary Luffy, he's really good, and he actually synergizes really well with Blackbeard. You've got Odin Toki. They don't actually come out that often, so it's cool that they're here. As well as Super Tandem Ace. He came out for last year's global anniversary. Really cool character. When you get that Super Tandem maxed out, it is incredibly good. K-Dad, amazing final tap, and then the waifus, who are a very good character to have. And then as for the normal legends that are available on part 1, you got some pretty good stuff here. I mean, more notably, you got the new Jesus Burgess. You've got Kazenbo, the Conjurer character, who sees some niche play. Shanks and Buggy's okay. Alba's very good. Super Tandem Big Mom. And you've got a lot of characters actually that synergize pretty well with Blackbeard and also Jesus Burgess through extension. But you've got Ulti, Who's Who, Super Class Doflamingo is still relatively solid. Guild Tesoro, but I'm pretty sure a lot of people have Tesoro at this point. But, you know, most people are really looking for the anniversary exclusives. I don't think too many people are missing these units here. I mean, like Katakuri and Oven, I'm sure many people probably don't have. They don't really see a hell of a lot of play, so I don't think that's that, you know, big of a deal. But there are still a couple of characters here, like, that don't have super evolutions. Like, Super Type Snake Man doesn't have a super evolution. Mihawk Perona doesn't have one. Smoker doesn't have one. So, you know, we could potentially see some of those characters super evolve throughout 2024. But moving on to the limited pool on part number 1, which is at what step is that to get a limited pool legend. So 8, 12, and 20, you're guaranteed to get one of these characters, 8, 12, and 20. So they actually restrict the pool to a pretty sizable amount here. You've got still access to some of those really good anniversary characters. You got Waifu, K-Dad, Super Tandem Ace, Odin Toki. You've got the Luffy as well. And then you've got the 2 new legends in Jesus Burgess and Blackbeard. And then you move on to the super limited pool, which restrict it even more. Again, you've got those first 3 characters, super good. Odin Toki is still available. And then you have the 30th pull on part 1 guarantees you one of these 4 characters, which is kind of weird. I would have preferred if it was just one of the new characters guaranteed at that point, Blackbeard or Burgess, but they ended up doing it in this way. So if you do go to 30, which is kind of crazy on part 1, hopefully no one has to do that, but you do get your hands on a pretty decent character at the end of the day. But ideally, like, Blackbeard is the one you want to get because he's a new character. I think Luffy's very good. I think Ace is still super solid. Odin Toki are probably the least desirable out of them, but it is what it is. Now, if you move on to part 2, you do see that part 2, even though that Blackbeard will likely have a much higher rate compared to part 1, they don't give you many anniversary exclusives, which is the problem here. But they do add Kid Luffy and Shanks, which were not on part 1. These 2 characters are very good. I think that, or at least in terms of the Anni exclusives, Shanks is one of my favorite. I use him still quite a fair bit. Very powerful character. Still very good in Rumble. Kid Luffy doesn't see that much play, but partnered up with Blackbeard. As for the normal legends, you've got a pretty good array here. Just looking at the top here, you got Uta, Momo, Jack, all very good. You've also got Gecko Moria, who's still pretty solid. Super Tandem Kid is still also pretty solid. And again, you got actually a couple of characters here that don't have super evos yet. Katakuri, or like the Sweet Commanders, the super type Katakuri. Quick King doesn't have a super evo. Dex Zoro, no super evo. So potentially could see some support for those characters in the future. But pool from part 2 is actually not awful. Moving on to that limited pool on part 2. You've got a pretty good array here. Like, most of those good characters that we talked about in the pool previously are in this part for limited pool. You've got like Uta, Momo, Jack. You've got Kid Luffy and Shanks still. Super Tandem Kid's still really good, but there's definitely a couple of characters you would not want to get out of here. Speaking about that Big Mom, Black Maria, and Killer. And then you move on to part 3. So remember that Jesus Burgess is not Anni exclusive, so he's in the normal legends. But you've got the Anni exclusive Sabo, Zora, and Kobe. Now, personally, I don't have Kobe, so I actually really want to try and maybe do some pulls here on part 3. So it puts us in a bit of a weird situation because I would love to get my hands on Kobe. Very good for Pirate Rumble, actually. And also, you know, Burgess, I think his special is very good. So we'll see. We'll see what happens here. But in terms of the normal legends, you still got some good stuff. You got Queen. You've got Izo, who's okay, I guess. If you've got Raizo and Shinobu, you've got the, you know, Kizaru Fuji, who works really well with them in Rumble. Robin Jinbei, super underrated. This part is not as desirable as the other parts, I must admit. But the Sabo, Quick Sabo, is so freaking strong, dude. So probably one of the best, or at least if he's not the best, he's up there with one of the best Anni exclusive characters out there. Then you get the limited pool for part 3, and then you have all parts available in terms of the rare recruits that are available, which look to be all strength or driven powerhouse focused characters, so it is what it is. The one that's most impressive though is definitely part 1, just because of the Anni exclusives that are available and how good they actually are. The normal pool probably isn't the greatest. I think the normal pool from part 2 is the best in terms of the overall value that you get, including Blackbeard and Shanks also being available. So part 2 looks really good. Part 1 looks also really solid. Part 3 I think is definitely disappointing, but they're going to bait people by putting Sabo and Kobe and even Dex Zora on it. So it makes sense why they structured it the way they did. But I think a lot of people are probably just going to skip this Sugo Fest and wait for whatever comes out in a potential part 2 Sugo Fest with new villains, new characters all together. I think that's probably a better choice. Just briefly, we have the new Kobe here for Pirate King Adventures. This Kobe seems okay. He does have the ability to reduce his own cooldown at the start of the quest, only by 3 turns, so it's kind of redundant. He does have Barrier Pierce, which is pretty interesting, but this character, remember, is going to super evolve when Treasure Map comes out. So he's going to get some type of buff at least. He's a Psi Cerebral Fighter, works well with the new Boa Hancock that just came out, works well with the V3 Rayleigh Super Evolution. So maybe we might see another character come out that actually synergizes with Kobe. We'll see what happens, what they have planned for us in a part 2 Sugo Fest, because we feel like there's going to be another part upcoming for the Sugo Fest. But there we go, new Captain Kobe character, so that's cool. And nothing really too noteworthy in terms of the boosted list for the PKA characters. Like, it's pretty much what we expect. The new batch and just recently released characters are all going to be relatively higher boosted. However, this is pretty good. So the ticket exchange for PKA is being updated, where you can now purchase with your PKA tickets the Quick Luffy that came out like a month or 2 ago, Jesus Burgess, who hasn't come out in a really long time. He's got an interesting effect. He does remove barriers, changes block slots, which is really good for all the new characters. Have supports for Blackbeard pirates that activate orb change specials, and this character does change slots. He changes block slots, and then he does he does int damage. He just does other stuff. It's whatever. This character basically doesn't see play. But this guy, Vasco's Shot, is interesting. He's actually not awful, and he hasn't been actually available for like pretty much since his release. So now people can finally get their hands on this guy. Just a very unique special. I think he's the only character in the game that specifically removes all of these debuffs in Despair, Special Bind, and Threshold all at the same time, albeit it's only 4-turn removal, but it's unique nonetheless, and it works well with the new Blackbeard stuff. Driven Shooter, like, he just works with the new Blackbeard stuff, so it makes sense why these characters will be now available. So the next thing I want to touch up on is the Grand Party stuff, because, I mean, February 25th, wow, it's actually, so Grand Party's starting tomorrow. I didn't even realize that. That's crazy. Okay, Grand Party's starting tomorrow, and the rule set is the most bizarre rule set we have ever seen. So let's start us off here. First line of text for the ruling here at the bottom: Driven class defense level 10, speed up level 10. That's already getting me frightened for a lot of reasons. Obviously the new batch being driven focused, but you've got the int driven stuff, who is already very annoying to go up against in Rumble, receiving 10 defense and increased speed. I gotta tell you, it's looking pretty frightening. I'm not a big fan of that, so that's gonna be extremely scary to come up against. The next line of text mentions level 15. 15 attack up for strength. So this means that, you know, coming up against those strength squads is going to be very, very scary, as, you know, they're just going to be doing way more damage. So characters like the 9.5 anniversary Luffy, Legend Kuma, who recently got that buff, is now a 20 cost character and reduced special CT for his special. You've also got characters like Super Type Kid, just these characters that just do crazy amounts of damage through defense. Even potentially Superclass Doflamingo could be used, considering he's driven. He receives those buffs for defense, speed, and attack all simultaneously. All these characters doing damage through defense with all of these buffs, going to be very, very frightening to come up against. Then we have Dex. Dex receiving HP down level 15. So they have already come out and said, alright, strength driven, we want to push this, but we see that everyone's using Dex teams, and now if you opt to use Dex characters, they will pretty much have no HP. That's frightening, and you know, potentially if you have Dex characters that are also driven, yes, you could buff their defense, but if they've got no HP, it doesn't really help them out. So that's going to be really scary. Dex, I feel like, is going to be unplayable this season, despite, as I said, you know, some of them being driven characters. I just don't think it's worth it. 15 defense HP down is absurd. That is really not that good. And then you have this Free Spirit class, speed down level 15, HP down level 5. So this is a pretty big debuff. Free Spirit, probably the best team in Grand Party because of, you know, obviously using Sanji, who will be receiving the Dex debuffs of level 15 HP down, but then Free Spirit, so Gear 5 Luffy, Goldie Roger, the Psy teams with Rebecca Toy Soldier, V2 Odin, Sai Yamato, then you've got the Free Spirit stuff like Enmazoro, Otama, Nami Karina, like all of these really OP characters in Rumble, they're receiving pretty big debuffs. I mean, speed down, yeah, it is a bit of an issue, but I feel like Free Spirit could probably still get around it. I don't know. I don't know how bad 15 speed down is. I've never played a team with level 15 speed down, so I can't really comment on it. But it seems bad on paper. But then the 5 HP down as well, I think it's going to be rough. We'll see how things go. Like, what's even the meta at this point? I still feel like Gear 5 Luffy's burst skill is still worth using, but how are you going to fit Gear 5 into your teams? That's going to be the issue. And then normally you have, you know, in the last 30 seconds you get some CT and damage buffs. But yeah, this season's going to be rough. We will see how it all comes together. But yeah, this is looking really, really scary. There's also a brief mention of a new campaign coming up. 25 gems just by logging in on the 26th at midnight. So that's pretty dope. So we just get free gemmies, some free pulls, which I've already talked about. We have a new login bonus, so we can get our hands on 25 additional gems. So that's already 50 gems by logging in for 15 days. Total, you've got the first, you know, batch of 25. You log in for 15 days to get another batch of 25. That's nice. And then you've got the added to medal exchange. So for the next month, you can spend 800 Sugo medals, which is absurdly high, but you can get 800 Sugo medals for one Sugo rare wanted poster. Now, these are pretty valuable items. I'm probably going to purchase some of these because I don't expect to use my medals all that much. But this is, I think it's not a bad idea, honestly, because I'm at the point where I basically never use my Sugo medals at the start of each month when the Sugo medal exchange updates. So this is more for players who already have a bunch of dupes for characters and don't really find a lot of value in spending your Sugo medals. This is a good way to get players to spend their medals. I get it, right? I get it. It is expensive, though, I must admit. At the little text at the bottom here, it says, there will be more events and campaigns celebrating the worldwide anniversary. Check the upcoming notices for more details of the events celebrating the worldwide anniversary. So they are mentioning there is going to be a campaign update relatively soon. So yeah, there's just going to be more coming, which we kind of expected. The shipyard stuff, we already talked about it in another video. Big Top is okay, Shark Superb is really good, and the Whale Shark is exceptional. So good buffs across the board there. New limit break expansions and level limit breaks. So these characters are all receiving level limit break buffs. So specifically Kobe, I think, is not too bad in Rumble. Strussen's okay, and then buffs for Hawkins, Luffy, Orobi, which is nice, but then also Ace and Marco, who is a Kazuna character. So that's nice that they're going to go back and give buffs to Kazuna units because they're really, really outdated. So moving in the next couple of months, want to see more of this, so that's good to see. And then they also have stated that starting tomorrow, whenever you get a red ticket after tomorrow, they're going to be updated so that it will include the new batch Bonnie and Lilith from the Egghead batch. So they are now going to be available in tickets, which is a huge, huge positive for us in the community, as these are pretty good legends that they released. Also Momo, shout out to Momo, is very good. Hiyori's still there, so limited pool batch looking really, really good. So we love to see that. We absolutely love seeing that. And then of course every legend will be available, but if you get a limited legend, it's going from V2 Odin, onwards. So actually not terrible in terms of the pool of characters available here. It looks like they might have actually fixed the limited pool and made it much more restrictive. So it's going to be a little bit easier to pull certain characters. Like, I don't know what their decision-making process was to choose which characters go into the limited pool. But overall, I think this is a net positive. This is looking pretty good. But that's all the news that we have today for the worldwide anniversary stuff. All the information is out there, and now all we need to do is do the polls tomorrow. So when the Sugo Fest goes live, I will be live streaming my polls. So make sure to come over to the Twitch channel, as I will be live streaming my polls. Hopefully, getting my hands on either Blackbeard or Jesus Burgess, so we'll see. Hopefully we get some cool stuff along the way as well. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video though, and let me know down below in the comment section, are you going to be pulling on this Sugo Fest, or are you going to be smart and are you going to conserve your rainbow gems for either a future part of this celebration, or are you going to save for May 11th, May 12th for that big 10th anniversary Sugo Fest? That's where you want to be. But hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to go ahead and leave a like, and if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. On that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.